everybody has different values. And to me, the values of living my identity are a priority. The measurement of success, I would say, to me, I measure my success with the number of people that I impact positively, being better at who they are or what they do. They just see passion, but they weren't willing to take a risk with me. How can this passion take shape in a way that can sustain me and be a money-making activity as well? Because passion without action is just a dream. I feel that my pride and my inspiration are the people that I see that are successful.
Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Say Africa, the place to discover African success stories in the UAE and be inspired by our guests and their journey to success. Now, I'm very excited about today's guest as I've had the pleasure of seeing her amazing work of bringing women together in a forum where they can learn, grow, as well as support each other. She has a real passion for women talent advocacy and is a true inspiration who multiplies positive impact with her work. She is also a published author, and she has a book titled Seeds of Change, and later on we'll dive deeper into this. And if you haven't had a chance to read her book, do yourself a favor and check out the show notes on how you can get your copy. Are you feeling stuck and demotivated, or perhaps have ideas and skills but just don't know how to turn them into a successful business? This is the episode for you. Welcome to Say Africa, Hanane. I'd love how you introduce yourself. Tell the audience, who is Hanane?
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be part of Say Africa. And my introduction is that I was made in Casablanca, Morocco, and I was shaped in New York City, and I have been thriving in Dubai since the past 17 years.
Hanane, I want you to take us back to before you started your travels, before the US, before the UAE, and before you really being this global citizen. Tell us what life was like in Morocco.
All I could remember is that the impact of my father in my life was huge, because I was a bright student in school when I was a kid, and those messages that were home all the time, that you are this brilliant kid, you're not going to be like all other women. So those messages were planted as seeds of that I needed to do something that was different. And also living at by the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, I always say that nature also has an impact on us, and we are the product of the environment that we grew in.
Absolutely.
And having grown up at the shore almost of the Atlantic Ocean, I've always wondered what was on the other side. And I was always mesmerized by the movement of the ocean, the waves. And so I always talk about the impact of the environment that I grew up in, but also that aspiration of doing something different. And also the work that my dad, the activity of my dad, God bless his soul, the fact that he was a farmer and he always was connected to the roots, and also he was always doing work for the community. So I think this is what I could remember from where the first seeds of who I am today were planted.
So these were the building blocks, you would say.
Exactly. They were the building blocks. They were the values that I embraced and I took with me everywhere. I was also a swimmer. Maybe that's
I was just going to say, are you a swimmer?
Yes, I was a swimmer. I swam for competition from age 7 until I went to university.
Oh, so not just any swimmer. You actually competed.
Yes, I still do the 4 swims. I don't have the same stamina anymore for sure. After a few laps, I'm short of breath, but yeah, I was a swimmer, and I still am. But I swam for competition, which means, again, being part of a team, and also being part of needing to win, needing to have that competitive character. So all of these, I think this is what really shaped me before I set sail to the other side of the Atlantic.
Wonderful. So I was a swimmer as well. What was your favorite stroke?
Breaststroke.
Breaststroke. Wonderful. Yes. Did you come from a big family, Hanane?
Yes, we are 7 siblings, 4 boys and 3 girls.
Okay. And are you...
Typical African family.
And what's your placement?
I'm number 5.
Number 5.
So.
And how would you say this impacted your life, being the 5th child? Or did it?
Well, no, it didn't affect me being the 5th child. what affected me is having 4 boys. So that kind of gave, having 4 boys, as 4 brothers, in the family, and that gave me, maybe it kind of nurtured my masculine energy, and also made me love football, which a lot of people find very strange, that I know about football. I love football. I follow football. And and it impacted me in a very positive way, because you had so many friends. You grow up, and whatever you do, it's a group, even if sometimes you fight or you have these arguments. But it's something that I'm very, very proud of, that I grew up in a big family.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I always say that having a big family is indeed a blessing.
Absolutely.
So take me through what life was like thereafter. Did you stay in Morocco? Is that where you furthered your education? Or did you move abroad for further studies?
You see, starting, and I speak about that in my book, is I've always dreamt to be a pilot.
Okay.
And not just a pilot, a captain pilot.
Okay.
And that was since I was 3 years old.
Why is that? Where did that come from?
It just came from the fact, well, actually I realized later what it came from. It was just that wanting to be different as a woman, because at that time there weren't too many, especially in our region, there weren't too many women flying commercial airlines.
Did you know anybody that flew?
Yes. As I was growing up, there were the 2 first pilots in Morocco, and I think they were among the first in Africa or in the Arab world. I remember that very well, and that really made me look up to them.
Okay.
And really just wanting to do something that was different, that was majorly male dominated, but also I was very hyper. And I knew that I could not be someone who would be doing a 9-to-5 job or having a lifetime career doing the same thing until you retire. That I knew. And also growing up to a father who was never employed.
Right.
He was an entrepreneur. Have seen him how he was managing his time and not having to report to anyone. He was very strongly always about that. I think these are all messages or some of the influences that made me want to. And also I love to travel.
Wonderful.
I always wanted to. I was, like I said, I was wondering what was on the other side of the Atlantic. I was a reader, and I read a lot of books, a lot of those heroes stories, and all of these heroes were coming from somewhere. And that also made me want to keep exploring all these adventures.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And how was your mom's influence in all of this?
It's like I'm living my mom's dream. My mom got married very young, so she didn't get to continue her education.
Okay.
And she always spoke with remorse about that.
Okay.
And I carried that dream for her. Okay. And I feel that whatever I'm doing, somehow it's almost achieving her dream, that she didn't continue her education, although she's very entrepreneurial. She started a home-based business. She's multi-talented, and she's known in the family as the best. In every family there's that best cook that everyone looks up to, and when they have guests, they call that person to supervise. Yes. That was my mom.
Incredible.
That is my mom. Yes.
Did you take any of her cooking skills?
I did. I never thought I was a good cook because I was so busy with school. She never let me, and that's part of she never let me do anything but study. Okay. She's like, because you're bright, I don't want you to take care of anything. Okay. Just focus on your school. Then when I moved to the US and I was living with my brothers, and I started trying, and they're like, "Oops, I have it. I didn't have to learn it." So I think, it is in the genes. Yes,
naturally. Yes. That's incredible. Well, I love to eat. I think our next meetup should be around food.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Yes,
wonderful.
For sure.
So you mentioned the US. When did you go to the US, and why did you go to the US?
Well, having a brother that lived there, went there earlier in the late 80s, it was always in my mind, the American dream. I'm going to go to the US. But again, because I didn't see that being a pilot dream come to fruition because of the change in the educational system, I had to do some prep classes, and I just felt that I was exhausted from the change that happened in the educational system. Before, we used to have the, you finish K-12, which is the baccalaureate.
Okay.
And in my time, when I reached that, there was a big change that we had to do 3 years of intensive exams and intensive studies. And that somehow didn't make that dream come to fruition. So I ended up in business school. It was a coincidence, but not any business school. It's actually known in Morocco as the number one, regionally, number one, to the point that only 160 students are admitted.
Oh, very competitive, okay.
Yes, only 160 from the whole, all the generation that is taking their baccalaureate that year. So that's another milestone. I mean, everybody was very proud of me.
I'm sure that was huge.
Yeah, although it wasn't really what I wanted. So I found myself there, and then I thought, okay, now that I'm in business school, it goes without saying that since I have a chance to go to New York, then I'll go for an MBA.
Okay.
So that's what took me in the late 90s to New York. And that's why I said it shaped me, because New York does shape you. It's a massive city. It's and it does teach you to be independent. For me, it was, oops, I'm out of the care of my mom and my parents. And even if I had a place to stay in, my brother was busy and my other brother was busy. So this was the start of you're on your own kind of thing, and new culture, new people, new ways of doing things, having to take care of yourself. It did shape me. And also it did shape me because I witnessed 9/11 incidents, 2001.
What was that like?
I have goosebumps as you asked me that question. So as we've seen on the news, but being there and seeing it's totally different story. And also the aftermath of that, and how it impacted so many people, how it impacted the perception of being Arab and Muslim. Although I don't look obvious that because I don't wear hijab, and my look could pass for so many other nationalities.
Very true.
Still.
You could be Mexican.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But still, I could sense that hostility, if you will, and that was the start of the end of the American dream. Okay. So although I didn't move until 4 years after that, but I felt like, okay, this is not a place where I'm gonna be growing as who I am. And as somebody who's very, very rooted in her identity as African, as Muslim, as Arab, all these mix that I carry proudly, was not going to flourish as I wanted it to, seeing what was happening. And that's when the quest, it wasn't a quest really. I went back to Morocco, and I just felt that I got used to much faster rhythm. So I felt that I wasn't ready yet to go back, although I love my country to that. But, as a young person, very vibrant, wanting to do things, I just felt that, no, it would take longer to achieve my dreams here. So I went back, and then my sister had just moved to Dubai. She was recruited by a local company here.
And this is your younger sister?
My younger sister, just number 6. Number 5, she's number 6. And so I was just visiting her, although I visited in 2001, the UAE, but it never crossed my mind that it would be home.
So your first trip to the UAE was just a holiday?
Yeah, it was a holiday. Even the second one was just a holiday. But it was a holiday with me having gone through 2 years of really not having a career. After having, graduated with distinction, my BA, trying to start a business and had a brief work experience after what happened was just in between, actually. When I started feeling that this is not a place for my future, then I wasn't really set in my career, and that was a waste of talent, and so I was floating. As
you wanted more, but you just didn't know.
I wanted more, yeah, and I think each of us goes through that, and it's okay, because that allowed me to start really seeing the patterns of what was my purpose. Wonderful. So I have no regret about that.
That's very interesting. I mean, a lot of people who are watching this will say, hang on, the US, the American dream, it is the ultimate destination. But here you were, and you had a soft landing. You had family there. You went to school. You did an MBA. So you had all these credentials, so to speak. It's an unfortunate time that obviously you witnessed, which I'm sure was difficult for not just the US, but the world, really.
Correct.
But still, within those 4 years, you weren't able to really find further value in staying there. That's quite interesting, a lot of people watching this will find that quite surprising. Can you tell us what was the most difficult thing within those 4 years, say post-graduation? What was it that was so challenging that made you feel that, you know what, maybe the US isn't the final destination?
Well, like I said, just feeling that I wasn't being able to be who I was, although we talk about the melting pot, but maybe it's just my experience. And again, I'm just here to talk about my own experience. And it was different for others. I mean, my brother still lived there. But for me, I just felt like I wasn't really melting in that pot. And it didn't seem that I would be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve while staying true to who I am.
Okay.
And everybody has different values. And to me, the values of living my identity are a priority. So it's just a matter of priorities. So to me, that was at that time. Maybe now it's different, but within that, when that situation happened and the message that I was hearing around me didn't make me comfortable. And I just thought, life is too short to waste it trying to prove yourself or justify who you are.
Right.
And that was it. So
wonderful. So you'd been to Dubai on holiday twice. Tell us about the second time that you came to visit.
The second time was in 2004. And I just stopped by. It was March, end of Feb, just like this time. So the weather was beautiful, obviously. Having a snowstorm in that week that I visited here. So it was really a good break from that harsh winter.
Okay.
And then I started seeing that the places happening, moving. And my sister saying, why don't you try over here? I mean, you haven't been happy. And I'm sure that somebody with your caliber, also somebody who speaks Arabic, being Arab, you would be welcome here. And I thought, I don't know. And just a meeting with someone that she thought who was also coming from the US and has settled here, said could give me more insights so that I understand what to expect.
Okay.
And that conversation turned into a job offer.
Incredible.
And like, oh, this is what you did, because I was in the franchising business as a consultant. And it happened that at the time, there was a group, things were still happening. A lot of groups were just importing a lot of franchises.
Very true. 2004 was a very interesting time.
Exactly. And like, would you be interested? And my sister was like, come on, you have nothing to lose. You'll still have a home there. You're single. What's for you to lose? Just come try. If you don't like it, you can always go back.
True.
3 months later, I was here. And
Incredible.
That's exactly how it happened. I didn't even have to send my CV anywhere or to start that quest. I thought, okay, fine. I'll go back, start looking and start sending my CV, talking to recruiters, see what's happening,
right,
or look for opportunities. But the opportunity came to me. That's why I always say, Dubai called me.
Okay.
When people tell me, what made you come to Dubai? I say, Dubai called me to come. And that's exactly how it happened. In 17 years, I'm still here sitting with you.
Incredible, yeah. Amazing. So tell us, what was that first job offer and how has life progressed since?
Well, I was hired to manage a new franchise, which was, for me, that was aligned with my entrepreneurial spirit, because although I was part of a big diversified family group,
okay,
I was running that franchise as if I was the CEO of that franchise, because I had total operations responsibilities. It came with a lot of responsibility because you had to hire, talk to the leasing people, do the marketing, present your budget, run it and open across the GCC. It was it was a tough job. I mean, I was working weekends because I had to go and check on it was a retail concept.
Okay.
And I had to go and check on the shops. I had to make sure that the team was there, they were motivated. I had to travel when we had to open a new shop. It was very, very exciting.
And tell me, Hannah, did you have prior experience in all of these things that you were doing?
No, I didn't.
How did you manage?
Like they say, sometimes you need to jump and learn how to swim. And it's just, I think what drives me is my passion. And I'm going to talk at a certain point about my 3 Ps when everybody asks me what drives you. Okay. So it was just that passion of seeing something new come into life and the challenge. I love the challenge of going through, seeing something new, difficult, and making sure that it takes shapes. It gives me a sense of living. I think I'm an adrenaline seeker, not just in the personal life, but also at work.
Wonderful. And how long did you stay in that role, and what happened right after?
Okay, I could have stayed longer, but then I was called by the best job I've ever had, which was at the government of Dubai.
Okay.
It was a dream, to be honest. And it just, again, I didn't look for it. It called me.
How so?
Yeah, well, I was working, because when I was in New York, I had started a small home-based company called C2C, Concept to Completion.
Okay.
When I was just helping our Arab African community people who didn't really have the skills to either choose a franchise or make a business plan for their idea.
Okay.
I just was talented for that. I was doing it as if I was practicing my MBA skills, but I didn't know that was the start of my consulting business.
Incredible.
So I was helping just like, especially women.
Okay.
Some women would go through difficult personal situations and want to find a way to, to survive, to make money, and they wouldn't know how, and they would just have a skill, and I'll sit down with them and say, okay, why don't you go to a flea market and start selling something like a jewelry you make?
How would you find them, or how would they find you? And what was that process of helping them? How did that look like?
You see, like I said, what I learned from my dad in the first seed of him being always in the community, so that's something that I've seen.
Okay.
We always had people at home.
Okay.
My dad always was helping people, and that I carried that with me. So I was always looking, in New York especially, you have the little Italy and the little Brazil, and
Correct.
So they call it the melting pot, but everybody, the Chinatown, and so obviously
still in their little cocoon.
Yeah, we all had, especially that having my brothers who were there before, so I knew where our people hang out, and then the internet started. So then we would find ourselves, and I don't know, just let's say Ramadan, we go to the mosque, and this is where we meet, or a national day celebration, and that's how everybody connects, and then word of mouth. So with that, I carried that passion of helping entrepreneurs, advising them, and someone knew about my passion for entrepreneurship, and sent that message, and then I found myself being called by the foundation that carries the name of the founder of the ruler of Dubai, His Highness Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and went through an intensive recruitment process and found myself the head of projects, innovation, and entrepreneurship programs across the Arab world.
Incredible. So, and how long after being in Dubai did that opportunity come in?
2 years.
Just in 2 years?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
A little bit more than 2 years, but yeah, before 3 years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So tell us, what was it like working for the foundation?
It was a dream job, really, because here we were looking at the macro situation of how can we improve entrepreneurship in the Arab region, and how can we improve knowledge, and how can we improve education, entrepreneur, how can we make our brains? We are a very young region, whether Africa, Middle East, Africa. So it was the idea of studying, going to university, making all these studies to come to what is needed for us to motivate our youth to become more entrepreneurial.
Okay.
That's just to sum it up.
So this was the starting of what we're seeing now happening in the UAE.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes,
that was it. You could say that, yes.
Incredible.
And I see all of these changes in pride and say, yeah, we looked at the lack of incubators, and now we see a lot of incubators. We looked at the lack of VC funding, and now we see a lot of funding. And the youth hubs and everything that you see here.
I mean, this is where it's at. This is where, there's so much activity in the entrepreneurial startup space.
Yes, and then Dubai became the startup hub for future idea, for futuristic thinking.
Absolutely.
And we were studying how can we make that a habit, a nature within our youth.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And how long did you stay with the foundation? Are you still with the foundation?
No, I'm not. I stayed there around 3 years. And then I just felt that this is what I felt. I wanted to be out to do more of this on my own, so that I have more liberty to take that vision and start working. And that was it. I mean, even if I had a short job in the investment banking in between, but that was like, no, this is it. I mean, that job at the foundation was what made it clear for me what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, which is what I'm doing now. And I feel privileged and lucky to have found that this is what I wanted to do at an age that I still can give and I still can build.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So here you were, sort of doing this research work, planting the seeds,
Yeah.
understanding what the ecosystem
Yes.
was about, what it lacked, and then trying to find solutions.
Correct.
To only go out and do it yourself. Tell us a little bit about your consulting firm.
Sure. So yes, as you rightly said, I wanted to switch from being the one who identifies the problem rather to find the solutions. And I thought, when you work for a government institution, there are certain rules, certain rhythm on which things go. And that's why I felt, I was ready to start really devising those solutions and being part of the solution. And that's how sustained leadership came to life. Because to me, and even through my own story, I felt it is no longer about being an expert or being successful, but it's how do you sustain yourself? And even for entrepreneurs, even today, I say it's not about growth. How do you sustain your growth? And how do you build this human capital, or you build yourself so that you are relevant as the world keeps changing? And this is what was needed. How do we help our youth and our graduates of our educational institutions to be relevant for the job market? Because that was the gap that we have identified through one of the studies that I was supervising, which was called the Arab Human Capital Challenge. There was a big gap between what we study in school or university and the skills that are needed really to succeed at the workplace or as an entrepreneur.
Very true.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to help from organizational level, because when I worked in organizations, I saw what was missing. So what was missing in the organizations to make them conducive and attractive to talent so that they can give them innovative ideas and give them creativity, which is needed for every business to survive, and also helping those youth or those graduates to find a job where they will thrive and that aligns with their values, so they are not just having a job, rather building a career where they are happy. So this is exactly in a nutshell what we try to do in sustained leadership.
Wonderful. Before we move forward on that, take me back to, you said this government job was a dream job.
Yeah.
Why was it a dream job?
It was a dream job because here I was getting paid to solve problems for my region. And that's what I was missing in the US.
Fantastic. So the opportunity to be part of this great impact work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's really driving impact. This is my work. I wasn't working to make somebody else rich, this is what I was doing in the private sector. I wasn't working to just make profits happen. I was working for impact. Of course, it's a dream job.
Wonderful.
And that's why my slogan, the company is driving positive impact in business and society, because for me, they're not fragmented. If we do it the right way, then business will drive the social change. And that's my main message.
So the entire ecosystem comes together.
Absolutely.
Now, for those company owners who are perhaps watching this, what advice can you give them in terms of the value proposition that you offer, in a few words?
Sure. So we work with companies to help them sustain their leadership and remain relevant in an ever-changing world, be it by how do you keep your people relevant, how do you remain relevant to your customers, to your stakeholders. So it's really about finding a way to become agile and resilient towards these changes that will continue happening, and build what I call a human-centric organization rather than a profitable business.
Okay. And throughout this impact work that you've done, are you able to quantify and say, you know what, we were able to impact X amount of people or X amount of institutions? What is that number? Yeah,
last time I looked at the number of entrepreneurs that I worked with, it exceeded 5,000.
5,000 entrepreneurs.
Be it through the incubators or the one-to-one coaching, or because I worked with more than 25 different spaces. We call them incubator, entrepreneurship center, accelerators, part of the ecosystem across the region. And in 20 countries, actually, more than 20 countries. So that's 5,000 people. And that's why when I look at the measurement of success, I would say, to me, I measure my success with the number of people that I impact positively, being better at who they are or what they do. That's how I measure it.
Amazing.
Be a company or a person.
Where does this deep passion, Hanane, come from for supporting and creating this impact?
It comes from one African philosophy that I believe in, and I named one charity after it. Ubuntu.
Ubuntu, I love that saying.
Yeah.
Tell the audience, what does Ubuntu mean?
Ubuntu, it's an African philosophy that means I am because we are, which means I cannot do anything alone. Everything I do, it has to be impacting the community. So it's about community living. It's about doing everything while thinking about your community. So that's what it comes from.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure along the way, the journey has had its own challenges.
Yeah.
What sort of challenges have you faced being a woman from the continent here trying to find success, trying to create great impact? What are some of these challenges you faced and how have you overcome them?
Well, I mean, every change comes with a challenge. Having gone through my journey, going to the US, there was a challenge of adaptation, of finding my space there. Then there was the challenge of when things have changed. Coming here, again, it's another culture because this is a cosmopolitan city. I had to accustom myself to the ways of how people live, how they communicate. Being a woman, I think in this country, I didn't really find any challenges as a woman, to be honest. The challenge that I found, they are challenges that any human being, individual, entrepreneur, somebody who's really passionate, who doesn't want to be doing, like I said, a 9-to-5 job. But again, sometimes my ambition and my passion was more than many people could handle. And being taken seriously, I would say. Let's say I carried my passion for the work that I was doing at the government, and I thought I'll be out and everybody will understand that this is what I was doing there. I could do it on my own. And that was the first shock, that many companies were taking on board our projects. Some of them were my own ideas, yet there was that background of the name of the foundation. But when I say it's me, Hanane, we're just starting, but it's the same impact, there was some people were hesitant. Everybody likes big brands.
So the fact that you didn't have this big, giant brand behind you, the same value proposition was being looked at differently.
Absolutely. That was the first learning for me.
Okay.
That, oh my God, it's going to take much longer for people to take me seriously because, okay, they just see passion, but they weren't willing to take a risk with me.
And how did you then overcome that?
But I talked to you about my 3 Ps. I think this is the time to talk about
Please.
That. Passion, you could see it.
Yes.
So whenever somebody asks me what drove you, and I said my 3 Ps, passion, and I learned about them later on when I looked back and connected the dots.
Okay.
Definitely,
so it's hindsight 2020.
Yeah, and then proactivity, because here I am. I found my passion. I knew this is what I wanted to do, but I needed to go and knock doors and find how can this passion take shape in a way that can sustain me and be a money-making activity as well, because passion without action is just a dream. So I had, or wishful thinking. So I had to be proactive, knocking doors, connecting. But then again, knocking doors, not all doors were opening.
Yes, of course.
So that's my 3rd P, persistence. I had to be persistent. I had to make friends with rejection and really be mentally tough and emotionally strong, and always reminding myself that I'm doing this for a higher purpose. And it's not just because, okay, I have a great idea and I know that it's going to work and I know there is a need, that everybody's going to yeah, please have a seat. So proactivity and persistence. Persistence, I would say 3 times. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here, the 3 Ps that helped Hanane overcome her challenges. First of all, it's important to have deep passion about whatever it is that you want to pursue. Next is you have to be proactive. And third, you have to be persistent. Things just don't fall into your lap.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Hanane, has life changed for you having lived in the UAE, you'd say?
Yes, of course, massively. I mean, having lived in the UAE, being part of this amazing mosaic of different colors and different nationalities, celebrating so many holidays, feeling safe as a woman. Oh my God, this is what I tell everyone when they ask me, why Dubai? And I have many interviews. I'm like, who leaves New York for Dubai? I'm like, I did. Because forget everything else. Just being able to walk at 3 a.m. if I'm jet lagged, which happens, true story, when I come back from the US, and dressed the way I want to be dressed and walk and nobody bothers me as a woman. There is no greater sense of freedom than this to me.
Absolutely. I would say that you cannot put a price
Yeah.
to security
Yes.
that this country and this region
Yeah.
affords us as the residents.
Absolutely.
Now, what about your family? Are they still in Morocco, or have they all moved to the US, or are they here? Where's your family?
My family is between, so I have family here, family in Morocco, and family in the US. Because I have
Okay.
my brother who's married in the US. I have two brothers who are married in the US. So I have nephews in the US, nieces. I have nephews in Morocco, and I have a nephew here.
Wonderful.
So I'm a proud, happy auntie who gets to move within 3 great cities to see family. So I have 3 homes. That's why when people ask me, and if you ask me the question, what do you call home? Why do we have to have one place that is home?
Very
I can't.
true,
I
very
have
true.
3 homes, and I feel home in these 3 cities. So
Wonderful. Now, is there a project that you've accomplished that you are most proud of?
I guess I'm proud of the 5,000 entrepreneurs. So you see, I feel that my pride and my inspiration are the people that I see that are successful, because these are products. But if you really want to know about a project, it's a platform, it's a community, and it's also an outcome of all the learning throughout my journey that took shape in last year.
Okay.
In Expo.
Okay.
It's called Tawazun, and Tawazun means balance in Arabic.
Okay.
And that idea came from after having run so many spaces for women, including Lean In, which I named Lean In Arabia, which was the first chapter of the global organization called Lean In that was founded by the COO, or now she is the former COO of Meta, Facebook, and Instagram and WhatsApp.
And that's where we connected.
Yes,
that was part of that
exactly.
group.
Yes. So after having run that space that you are part of, and you are part of, after 9 years, I felt, okay.
Is it 9 years?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So after the 5th year, I felt that, okay, now we have this space, because one of my aspirations that I was talking about is I strive to be in part and creating spaces for, it was for women, not for individuals, to thrive.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, all the initiative that I do, it's really about these safe spaces. How can people learn and I've been from Zimbabwe to Vietnam, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Palestine, the refugee camps, Lebanon. I've been all these spaces to really create those safe spaces. Could be for 1 hour.
Right.
You just hold a conversation for 1 hour to allow others, especially women who are from minority or who are running through really difficult times, to just have a voice.
Right.
It has no price. And to me, and even when I go to organizations, it's really about helping them create a space that will give their employees a voice. And the impact will come positively to the bottom line if we just have that vision. So Tawazun was like, okay, it is balance. It moved from wanting to shift the narrative from gender equality to gender balance, since March 8th is coming soon.
Yes.
So I wanted to just remind us of that message. It's Wednesday, yeah. And then I found that the world needs more balance than just gender balance. There were so many gaps that were accentuated or accelerated by the pandemic.
Yes.
And that's why right after that, I felt, okay, the name is Tawazun, why do I have to limit it? And then I went out there asking people, what does balance mean to you? And when I say asking people, I meant asking kids, stay-at-home moms, people who are working as domestic help, everyone, all walks of life, CEOs. What does balance mean to you? And they hesitate. And I'm like, just what comes to mind when the word balance comes to you? And I want to ask everyone who's watching, what does balance mean to you?
Tell us in the comments, what does balance mean to you?
And the patterns that came from those answers were summarized in 4 main pillars. And I think everybody would agree with me. A balanced world starts with balanced people, mentally, well-being, then balanced workplaces, because it's where you spend more than half of your day.
Very true.
And then balanced societies, because we can't just make money and thrive and feel good without looking at our communities. And that's the Ubuntu part. And then balanced planet. But we can't start by teaching others about sustainability it's sustainability as if it means only environment, without taking care of themselves first. So balanced people, workplaces, societies, and planet is what Tawazun is all about. But it's a community where we join hands, join ideas. How can we together bring more balance to the world and to self?
So how can anybody watching today be part of Tawazun?
Just tawazun.com.
Okay.
It's TA, you can write it. It's TAWAZOUN.
Okay.
And you find out what we do and how we really want to leverage on technology and leverage on the community to bring balance to self first, because this is where they learn a lot about how they can bring balance to self and then move into their workplace, whether they're entrepreneurs, an employee, a leader, a boss, and then take that to the communities where they serve and our societies and the wider world.
Wonderful. And can people join virtually, or do you only have face-to-face meetings? How does that work?
Virtually and face-to-face meeting.
Okay.
We communicate about all of that.
Okay.
And it's also an opportunity for everyone who has something or who has a business or an idea or a skill that promotes balance. We're happy to create a platform for them to even market that skill.
Incredible.
Because we want everyone to be sustainable. So we're not running it as just a platform or community, but also a place where you can connect and see how you can help others bring balance. If your business does so, then we're happy to promote you as well.
Wonderful. And how many members do you have today?
For now, we have about 1,500.
That's a good size. Yeah. Okay. Now, you're a published author. Take us through the journey of one. What made you want to write? And two, what was that journey like? And lastly, tell us a little bit about what our audience can expect in Seeds of Change, your latest book.
Writing has always been part of my journey since I was a kid.
All right. So you're a natural writer?
Yes, I was always writing my diary and writing about things and just going out and seeing something, writing essays. My essays were read in primary school. So I wrote articles. I mean, I have also articles in Forbes magazine, Forbes Middle East, Harvard Business Review. So I've been writing, I've been expressing myself in writing, because at the end of the day, it's a form of expression.
It definitely is.
That's all it is. And many people kept telling me, whenever I spoke or I was part of these spaces, many people keep telling me, we see a book in you. And I'm like, maybe one day I'm going to write a book. But I never forced it. And again, I do believe how circumstances sometimes come to make you see that this is the right time for this to happen.
Right. So
first I was invited to be part of a collaborative book, which is called Your Dose of Motivation. It's there. And were 18 stories of entrepreneurs talking about their journeys. And my chapter was talking about the 3 Ps. So, and how they drove my entrepreneurial journey. And once I started that collaborative book, then I was invited to another collaborative book. I'm like, okay, maybe now I have so many articles. And the idea first was maybe I should just gather all my articles in one book.
Okay.
And as I started thinking about that, I had already gone through so much learning through my entrepreneurial journey, and I felt that I had enough to really put it all together. And I had started working on this methodology that is SEEDS, because SEEDS is an acronym.
Tell us more about it.
Yes. So having worked as a consultant with many organizations, multinationals, entrepreneurs, startups, growth stage, being part of these incubators, like I said, working with 5,000 entrepreneurs, everything starts crystallizing. That's what is needed really to build the right organization that plants those sustainable seeds of change.
Okay.
So seeds, I see it as the leadership traits that will be needed in every entrepreneur or every leader to lead in the future that is becoming more volatile, more uncertain, more complex, more ambiguous, the famous VUCA expression.
VUCA, for sure.
If you haven't heard about VUCA, I would advise you to go and search it. So sense, engage, empower, develop, sustain. Seeds.
Wonderful.
And there's an explanation of each step. How do we embrace and develop and grow that skill of sensing?
Okay.
And I'm just going to stop at sensing, which is the most important one for all leaders. Today we live in a very unpredictable world. We don't have all the data to make all the decisions based on 1 + 1 = 11. And we have lived it. I started writing my book before the pandemic, before the lockdown. And then the lockdown comes, and I say it in one of the chapters that I had to stop and go and edit. Because what happened has validated even further what I was trying to talk about. I was just referring to the digitization and the fast changes in technology and how many giant businesses have become obsolete, like Nokia and Kodak and all of those. And then COVID-19 pandemic comes to confirm and accelerate this learning that yes, today nobody, with all the information we had, with all the technology we had, nobody could predict what was going to happen. So we had to learn on the go, on the move. Companies who succeeded in containing the crisis were the ones who were already experimenting with remote work, were the ones who were already having that future foresight, the ones who were trusting their employees more, because when they had to work home, they didn't have to be micromanaging them. And these are the principles of Seeds. And you need to sense, because as a leader, you might have to take a decision based on what feels right, rather than thinking everything. And engage. You can't take a decision alone. You need to engage with others. You need to empower your employees, not because you want to be good, but because of the fast pace. If everybody needs to wait to that vertical decision-making matrix, it could be too late. Competitors could come in, or you could become obsolete. And then develop as in continuous development. And then how do you sustain? So this is Seeds, and it takes you step by step on how to build a human-centric organization.
Are you planning to write any more books, Hanane?
Yes. When it comes, I know, I'm just flowing. I'm just talking about sensing. When I sense that it's right, there are a few ideas in my mind, but I'm waiting for it to that light bulb to say, that's it. This is what you're going to do. Yes, definitely. Once you're bitten by the bug of writing, it's
an ongoing.
Yes. No, yeah. So now I'm still having my articles about timely topics, about blockchain, the new technologies. Not that I'm an expert, but I search, and then I just educate myself to that search, and whatever learning I get or insights, I just try to put them and I share them. Because one of my quotes as well that I say, if knowledge is a power, sharing knowledge is a superpower. And I do believe in that.
I truly believe in that as well. That's wonderful. Now, how do you envision the future for Africans in the UAE, and how do you think they can come here and contribute, or those who are here can contribute to the growth of this country?
If you follow me, you would see that I always put that the future is Africa and the future is African, because, Africa is the youngest continent. And with youth, there's frugal innovation, there are a lot of ideas. And this country is all about welcoming new ideas, and it's open to new ideas. It's very easy to do business. So if you have a great idea, if you are willing to learn on the go, if you're not really stuck and protective of your idea and how it needs to be applied, I think there's a fantastic opportunity, because here you have that ease of doing business. You have a diverse environment where you could see your idea come to life, and you have a support system. You can find support system very easy here with a growing African community and African network. So just remember that things don't always look the same as we envisioned them. So do not get attached. And I think that's what helped me a lot in my growth. I don't get attached to the outcome. I don't get attached to this is how my idea and this is how it needs to look like. But what I get attached to, what I keep thinking about is, who is it serving? So I keep an eye on how they are behaving, how they are evolving, so I follow. And why did I start this from the first place? It might sound cliche, but I will say it again. If you don't have a strong purpose of what you're doing, why you're doing what you are doing, then you're not going to have that persistence. You're not going to have that passion driving you when things don't go the way you envisioned them first. So always remember who you are serving with your idea. And it could be a small idea. It could be any job. You are serving somebody with that job or that activity. And what is that deeper purpose that you are doing it for? keep digging deeper until you find. I wanted to fly, be a pilot, because I wanted to create an opportunity for women to distinguish, to differentiate. I wanted to travel. This is what I'm doing. And I didn't want to have a boss. So I didn't become a pilot, but I achieved this through other activities. So dig deeper when you say, I want to become this. Why? And try to achieve it. You might see it come to life through other activities. So do not get attached to the title, to the role, to the idea, but find deeper why you're doing it and for whom.
Wonderful. So there's many ways to achieve one's final goal. Don't get stuck with this one path.
Exactly.
Wonderful. And would you advise Africans that are considering to move to the UAE and make UAE their home, would you advise them to take the plunge, to come to the UAE and make the UAE home?
If they have a valid reason, if they want to, they could try it. But I would just advise them, especially now that information is very available everywhere, do your research and ask. Everything's available online. And ask yourself, what are my opportunities if I go there? What are my chances? I mean, yes, this is a great city to be in. This is a great land of opportunity, but it's not the El Dorado that you're just going to see a few people posting nice Instagram images that they're having a good life. That shouldn't be the motivation. That's all I can say. And I might be being blunt here, but I'm not here to sell you fake dreams. You need to know that it takes hard work to achieve any dream.
Absolutely.
And you need to be informed before you make that jump. And we are here. We are here as an African network, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful.
Or to hold your hand.
Excellent. Hanane,
Yes.
Thank you so much. This has been an incredible session. I now want to get to some rapid fire questions. We like to end our discussions with a bit of fun. What would you say is your purpose of life?
Is to bring more human element to business, and that became actually is a fun fact. And they say you become the change you want to see in the world. Everything I do, I keep saying, I don't want to see business and social change as fragmented. Why do we have to do business the wrong way and then go and try to spend few thousands on trying to fix something? I want it to be one. And I kept saying, I want to humanize business. And then I looked, oh my gosh, my name is Hanane Benkhallouk. That's HB. That's humanizing business. That became me. And that became my personal brand. It is really about how do we humanize business? How do we make business solve social and environmental challenges while making money, rather than it's CSR, it's giving back. I don't want to hear that anymore. And this is exactly my purpose. So when I work with entrepreneurs, I tell them, you are starting a business, whatever it is. Could be, manufacturing, could be a restaurant, could be the newest tech. How can you embed that change in the way you're doing business so you don't have to say, let me make money now, then I'll see what I can solve. That's not going to help us. That's not going to sustain us. The world is aching. We need to make it part of our value proposition. And that's what I go talk about, speak about, help companies from multinationals to startup trying to understand and make it a corporate shared value, not a corporate social responsibility.
Wonderful. Humanizing business.
Humanizing business, yes.
And what is your definition of happiness?
Happiness is an inside job, as they say. It's really about how you feel. It's about seeking it. It's a decision. It's a choice that we make every day. Mm-hmm. I wake up and I choose to be happy. And happiness is how you choose to react. I have an equation that I saw in a book, and I always use it in my workshops or coaching or just my talks. E plus R equals O. Okay, it's a riddle. E is only, and I'm going to see if you can solve it. E is only 10%. So E plus R equals O. O is 100%. E is 10%. R is 90% of that O. Let's see, what is O?
Is O opportunity?
So the outcome.
The outcome.
So every outcome, now I'm making it easier, 90% of that outcome starts with R. Only 10% of that outcome, of any outcome, starts with E. R. was something we choose to do. And anything, we choose how to respond, react. So, and that's what happiness for me is, how you choose to react to things, no matter what they are. Things happen, life happens, difficult things happen. But whatever happens, trust me, and I challenge everyone, and you could go back and look into your life and other people's lives. What defines the outcome of anything that happens in life is how you choose to react to it.
Very true.
And that's 90%. So happiness is a choice when you don't link life again to outcomes, but to taking anything as growth, learning, what's in it for me to learn and move on. And that's what keeps me happy, because I don't attach things to how it's supposed to look or how society is seeing how I'm supposed to live. Then you'll be happy. It's taking responsibility and response as a responsibility, which means being able to respond the right way.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
And if happiness for you was a color, what color would you assign to happiness?
Everybody knows what color is my happiness color. It's purple. I'm obsessed about purple color.
Really?
Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Now, let's see how much you know about Africa.
Okay.
We're going to have some fun facts. Question 1. What country is home to the oldest education institution in existence, which was established by an African Muslim woman who paved the way for knowledge?
Seriously, you think I wouldn't know that? As somebody who's working on raising awareness about how women paved the way. Yes, it's in Fez. It's in Fez, Morocco.
Wonderful. And this country was the first country in the world to recognize the U.S., the United States of America, as an independent country in 1977.
Yes, that's a fact that a lot of people don't know. That's my Morocco.
Morocco. And third, which is actually a more recent fact.
Yes.
Now, the whole world was entertained with an incredible display of talent and wonderful upsets at the recent World Cup held in Qatar. Can you tell us what was the first African country, to be part of the Golden Quadrant in this World Cup?
Morocco.
The whole world was rooting for Morocco.
Yes, and I was very young when they set another record in 1986.
Tell us about that.
In 1986, Morocco was the first African country again to move to the 16th. Yes,
Amazing.
So
amazing. Now, our last and final game is tell us what country is best suited to this slogan. Impossible is nothing.
The UAE.
And secondly, a little imagination goes a long way.
That's a tough one, although I talk about it a lot.
What country would you assign this slogan to?
Or even the UAE, I think, because I talk about that a lot when I talk about the difference of transformative leader or transformational leadership and managing change. And I always give the example of the UAE, because the founders of the UAE have imagined this world, how they want it to be. And then they work their way forward. They imagined the future. They didn't move from the present. They moved from a future vision and then say, we're going to make it happen.
And execute.
And I think that's what everybody needs to do if they really want to make something different. That's why we don't have so many transformative leaders, because it takes courage to do that. And who would have thought just 30 years ago that we would see what we are seeing today, if somebody wasn't persistent about what they visualized and what they wanted to achieve. So everything starts by a vision and a dream.
Some imagination.
Again, and I'm going to say that it's linked somehow to Africa. It's not Africa, but Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. I would tell entrepreneurs, he didn't have a business plan. He had a dream.
Very true. Now, that's all we have time for today, folks. And I hope you found value and inspiration in our conversation today with the lovely Hanane. And remember to always imagine and stay balanced. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned and informed with all our episodes. Thank you so much.
For me, what I know and what I do, what makes me happy is football. I wanted to play professional. I do not see myself actually studying or working or in the corporate world. I really, since when I was young, much more young, I used to dream and see myself playing in the top clubs in Europe.